I never thought I would tell this story, but maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Before I begin, please make sure you are subscribed, because what happened to me still feels impossible. My name is Aller Vance, and 15 years ago I lost my only child. My sweet boy Zion. Time passes, people say, but grief does not move with the clock. It stays where it began. For 15 years I lived with a quiet emptiness that no sound could fill. I worked. I smiled. I cooked dinner, but nothing tasted real. Every Sunday I went to the same cemetery, carried fresh flowers, brushed away the leaves, and whispered small updates about my week as if he could somehow hear them. The world kept moving forward. His friends married, had children, changed jobs, bought houses. I stayed in place, like a page stuck in an old photo album. Sometimes late at night, I still dialed his old number just to hear his teenage voicemail greeting. Hey, you've reached Zion, leave a message, and I'll call you back. Those few seconds were my way of pretending he still existed somewhere beyond the static. Then came the night that changed everything. It was August 14th, Wednesday, and rain was tapping on the windows. I woke up suddenly and looked at the clock. 3:27 a.m., my cell phone was ringing. When I turned it over and saw the name on the screen, my heart forgot how to beat. It said Zion. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I had renamed that contact years ago to stop myself from calling it. Now the name was back to what it had been before, simply Zion. The ringtone kept echoing through the dark bedroom. 5 rings, 6, 7. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Something inside me whispered, "Answer it." I pressed the green button, at first only breathing. Slow, human breathing. Then a voice, soft and confused. "Mom?" The world went silent. Every sound in the house seemed to vanish. It was his voice. The same tone, the same little drawl on the word mom. I couldn't speak. "Mom? Where am I?" It's dark. I can't see anything. I sat straight up, clutching the phone to my ear. "Zion?" I whispered. "Honey, is that you?" "Yeah." "It's me," the voice said. "But it's cold." "What happened?" "I don't understand." I wanted to believe it was a trick, a cruel prank, a technical glitch. Anything but what it sounded like. But every breath, every pause, every nervous tremble belonged to my son. I remembered his laugh, his way of stretching certain words, and the memory matched perfectly. "Zion." "Listen," I said, trying not to cry. You were in an accident." "It's been years." There was silence, then a shaky reply. "No, Mom. That can't be right. I just remember the rain, the lights, and then darkness. Now I'm here. It's small and it smells like dirt. Mom, I'm scared." My throat closed. He was describing something that should not be possible to describe. My mind raced for an explanation. A dream, a phone hacker, a wrong number with a familiar voice. But my heart said otherwise. "Zion, where exactly are you?" "I don't know. It's tight around me like wood. I can't move much." My breath caught. I didn't want to think the thought that arrived next. I whispered, "Hold on, baby. I'm going to help you. Just don't hang up." "The battery's dying, Mom," he said. "It's flashing red." That was when I asked the question that still echoes inside me. "Where did you get a phone?" It was in my pocket. My old one. The little blue one. That phone had been buried with him. He had asked for it himself when he was 16, during one of his thoughtful phases about life and death. We had placed it in the casket beside him because it felt like a small kindness. I couldn't breathe. "Zion, listen to me. Do you remember Cypress Grove Memorial Park?" "Yes, that's where you're supposed to be resting. You're near the big oak tree." On the other end, I heard a soft gasp. "So it's true," he whispered. "I am there." "Zion," I cried. "Just stay calm." "I'm coming. Mom, please hurry." The battery. The line filled with static and went dead. I tried calling back again and again, but each time a recorded voice said, "This number does not exist." I sat frozen on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, the rain outside mixing with the sound of my own heartbeat. Before I tell you what I did next, make sure you're subscribed because from this point on the story only gets stranger. I grabbed my keys, threw on a coat, and ran to the car. The streets of Atlanta were empty at that hour. Traffic lights blinked yellow over wet pavement as I drove far too fast toward the cemetery. Every second, the words, "Mom, where am I?" echoed through my head. By the time I reached the gates, it was nearly 4 in the morning. The place was closed, of course. But the night watchman, Mr. Silas, knew me from my weekly visits. He was half asleep in the booth when I banged on the window. "Ms. Vance," he said, startled. "What's wrong?" "I need to get in," I said. "It's about my son." He blinked, confused. "Your boy?" "Please, Silas, I just need to go to his grave. Now." Maybe he saw something desperate in my face, because he grabbed a flashlight and opened the gate. "All right," he said quietly, "but I'm coming with you." We walked fast along the narrow paths. I knew every turn by heart. The cemetery smelled of wet grass and old earth. When we reached the big oak, I dropped to my knees before the marble stone engraved with his name, Zion Eduardo Vance, 1993-2010, beloved son. The ground was calm and untouched. The grass I had planted was growing neatly over it. For a moment I thought, maybe I really lost my mind. Mr. Silas shone his flashlight on me, worried. "Ms. Vance," he said softly, "you had a bad dream. Go home, try to rest." "It wasn't a dream," I whispered. "He called me." He sighed, reached to help me up, but I stayed on my knees, touching the damp grass. He said he's cold and trapped in the dark. How can I leave him like that? Mr. Silas knelt beside me. "Sometimes grief plays tricks on us," he murmured. "You've carried this pain for a long time." I looked at the headstone, my heart breaking all over again. If it was madness, then madness was kinder than the idea of hearing his voice by mistake. He guided me back toward the car. As we walked, I whispered, his phone was buried with him. How could it still work? How could it get a signal? Mr. Silas didn't answer. The wind through the trees was the only sound. Back home, I tried the number again. Still nothing. I sat in the kitchen until dawn, shaking, staring at the phone on the table. One thought circled in my head. If he called once, he could call again. I needed someone to believe me. At 5 a.m., I dialed Darius, my ex-husband, Zion's father. We hadn't spoken much since the divorce. When he answered, his voice was heavy with sleep. "Alar, it's 5 in the morning. What's going on?" "I heard him," I said. Zion called me. He didn't laugh. He didn't yell. He just listened. I told him every detail, from the time to the words to the sound of our son's breathing. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know what to believe," he said finally. "But I know you wouldn't lie about something like this." "I need to see for myself," I said. "We have to check the grave." "Alar," he said carefully, "that's not easy. We'd need permission, maybe even a court order." "I don't care. I just need to know," he sighed. "I'll come over. Give me an hour." While waiting, I sat in Zion's room for the first time in years. Everything was still where he'd left it. The books, the posters, even a pair of sneakers by the bed. The morning light crept through the curtains and landed on a framed photo of him grinning in his graduation jacket. I touched the glass. "Baby, if you can hear me, please call again," I whispered. And then, as if in answer, the phone on my lap began to vibrate. The screen lit up with one word, Zion. My heart jumped into my throat. I stared at the name, afraid to touch it. The ring kept going, steady and sure, like a heartbeat that refused to die. This time I wasn't alone to witness it. Darius walked in just as the phone rang a third time. He froze. "You see that?" I whispered. He nodded slowly. "It's him." The sound filled the room. A sound that didn't belong to the world of the living or the dead, just somewhere in between. With trembling hands, I reached out and pressed answer. For a heartbeat, there was only silence, a deep hum that sounded like wind inside a tunnel. Then his voice came through again, faint, breaking, but real. "Mom, can you hear me?" "Yes, baby, I hear you." "I'm here," my voice was shaking. "Dad?" the voice asked. Darius leaned close. "I'm here too, son," he said quietly. "We're both here." A long breath on the line, then a small laugh that didn't sound quite right. "I knew you'd pick up. I was scared you wouldn't." Every word made my skin prickle. It was him, the same rhythm, the same warmth. But there was a hollow echo under his voice. as if he were speaking from a vast empty space. Before I tell you what he said next, make sure you're subscribed. Because from this moment, the story stopped being sorrow and became mystery. Zion, I whispered. Where are you now? What can you see? Nothing, he said. Just a pale light somewhere far away. I think I'm underground, but I can't be sure. It feels heavy above me. I looked at Darius. He was pale, his hand gripping mine so tight it hurt. Son, he said softly, do you remember the accident? There was a pause. Then, bits and pieces, rain, a curve, headlights. Then I fell and everything went quiet. But I didn't think it would stay quiet this long. My eyes filled with tears. You've been gone 15 years, Zion. What? His voice cracked. That's not possible. It's only been a few hours. I just remember the crash. He sounded terrified. Mom, something isn't right. I can't move. I can't even feel my legs. It's like my body's sleeping, but my mind is wide awake. I tried to keep my voice steady. We're going to help you. Just hold on. The battery's low again, he said. It says 2 bars. If it goes dark, will I disappear? No, I said quickly. Stay calm. You're still connected to me. I can feel you. The line hissed with static, then quieted. Mom, he whispered. Someone's talking near me. Darius frowned. Who, son? Who's talking? I don't know, Zion said. It's like whispers through the walls. I can't make out the words. The hairs on my arms lifted. Maybe it's wind, I suggested weakly. It doesn't sound like wind. The static deepened, and then a faint tapping came through the speaker. Slow, steady, like a knock from far away. Do you hear that? Zion asked. Yes, I breathed. It's not me. The phone beeped once, low battery, and the call dropped. I sat frozen. Staring at the dark screen, Darius tried to call back, but the same mechanical voice repeated, "This number does not exist." He set the phone down carefully. We need to talk to someone who understands electronics, he said. Maybe there's an explanation. An explanation? I snapped. You heard him. You heard our son. He rubbed his forehead. I did, but I don't know what that means yet. We stayed up till sunrise searching for logic and finding none. By morning, Darius's friend Kai, a forensic pathologist, agreed to meet us. We didn't tell him everything on the phone, only that it concerned Zion's old cell. When Kai arrived, I showed him the phone. This number has been disconnected for years, he said, checking the SIM, but there's fresh call data from last night. He looked confused. Impossible. The carrier removed this line ages ago. I told him about the voice. He studied me, then Darius. I can't tell you what's happening, but if you're serious, we can test the area. Maybe there's a radio frequency or a signal bounce. Darius leaned forward. Would a signal from underground even work? Not normally, Kai said. But weird reflections can happen. He didn't sound convinced. That afternoon, Kai drove us back to the cemetery with a small signal scanner. Mr. Silas let us in quietly. The sun was high. The place looked harmless and peaceful. Kai turned on the device. We'll sweep for transmissions. The screen flickered, then a small pulse appeared near the big oak tree, right above Zion's plot. There, Kai murmured. That frequency shouldn't exist. The pulse repeated, faint but regular, like a heartbeat. I whispered, He's calling again. Kai looked uneasy. If this is a prank, it's very elaborate. It's not a prank, I said. It's my son. We waited. The scanner beeped once, twice, then my phone vibrated in my pocket. The same name. Zion. Kai saw it, eyes wide. Answer it. I did. This time the voice was clearer. Mom, there's light now, he said. A soft blue light. I think it's coming from the phone, Darius whispered. We're here, son. We're standing right above you, Zion gasped. I can hear you better. It's like you're closer. The signal meter on Kai's device jumped. What's happening? He asked. I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the soil, half expecting it to move. Mom, Zion said, something's changing. I can feel warmth. What do you mean? It's like I'm waking up. The connection crackled, then softened into a low hum that filled the air around us. Before I tell you what we saw next, make sure you're subscribed, because what happened in that moment made even the scientist believe. A faint glow rose through the ground, dim at first, then brighter. Kai stepped back. There's some kind of bioluminescent reaction, he muttered, but his voice was trembling. The glow pulsed in rhythm with Zion's words. Mom, Dad. I can see you, he said. You're standing under the oak. Darius looked at me, stunned. How could he see through solid earth? I don't know, I whispered. Listen, Zion said. I'm not alone down here. What do you mean? There are others. I can hear them whispering. They don't like the light. A chill swept through me. Zion, keep the light on. I'm trying, he said. But the phone's hot. The battery's draining fast. The glow dimmed. Kai knelt, measuring again. The signal's collapsing, he said. Mom, Zion whispered. If the light goes out, they'll come closer. My knees went weak. Who will? I don't know. I just feel them. Please don't let the light go out. The signal faded completely. The ground turned dark again. We stood there in silence until Kai turned off the scanner. I can't explain that, he said quietly. It wasn't radio. It wasn't power lines. It was something else. Darius took my hand. We need to get authorization to open the grave. I nodded slowly. He said he's not alone. We can't leave him like that. Kai agreed to start the paperwork. It may take a few days, he said, but I'll push it through. That night, back home, I sat by the phone waiting. Every hour I checked for missed calls. Nothing. At midnight, I closed my eyes and prayed aloud, something I hadn't done in years. God, if there's still a way to help him, show me. At 3:27 a.m., the phone buzzed once, just one vibration, no ring, no light. When I looked, the screen showed a single new message. It said, "Don't wait." Midnight tomorrow, my breath caught. Was it a warning? A command? I called Darius immediately. He sent a message, I said. He said not to wait. We can't do anything illegal, Darius replied. But maybe we don't have to wait for permission. His voice was tight. Meet me tomorrow night. We'll do what we have to do. The rest of that day felt endless. The clock hands barely moved. I kept replaying Zion's words. They don't like the light. When night finally came, Darius arrived with Kai. Mr. Silas met us at the gate, flashlight in hand. I don't want trouble, he said, but I believe you believe. Let's be quick. The moon was thin, the air cold. We walked in silence to the oak tree. Kai had brought small tools and gloves, just enough to lift the top layer, he said. If we see anything, we stop. They worked carefully. Moving the damp soil bit by bit, I stood by, whispering prayers I hadn't spoken since childhood. Then the ground gave a soft sigh, a release of air from below. A pale blue shimmer appeared again. Faint but unmistakable, Kai dropped his tool. There, do you see that? I leaned closer. The light was pulsing, steady and slow, like breathing. Before I could speak, my phone vibrated again. No ringtone, just the vibration, and a message across the screen. Almost there. Don't be afraid, I showed it to Darius. His face went white. Kai whispered, This is not possible. The light beneath the soil brightened, spreading outward in circles like ripples on water. The ground itself seemed to hum, and then a small voice came through the air, not from the phone, but from the earth below. Mom. I fell to my knees. Tears spilling down. I'm here, baby, I said. We're all here. The humming grew louder, the light rising until it shone through the thin layer of soil like dawn through fog. Darius reached for my hand. If we open it now, we can't turn back, he said. I don't care, I whispered. He asked us to come. Kai hesitated, looking between us, then nodded slowly. Let's finish it. They cleared the last of the dirt. The light beneath was blinding now, a perfect circle glowing blue-white. Mom, Zion's voice said again. Calm this time. When you touch the light, you'll understand. I reached out. The glow spilled over my fingers, warm and soft, like sunlight filtered through water. The air smelled of rain and pine, and then everything around me dissolved into light. At first, it was too bright to see, a white so soft it felt warm on my skin. The cold night air, the damp ground, the sound of Kai and Darius, they all faded. There was only silence and brightness stretching everywhere. Mom, a voice whispered, close to my ear but coming from everywhere at once. Zion? I said. Where are you? I'm here, he answered, calm now. Don't be afraid. The light rippled like gentle water. Each ripple carried a faint hum like 1,000 soft voices breathing together. My heart should have been racing, but instead it slowed. I felt peace like the first deep breath after years of holding everything in. "Baby," I whispered, "is this heaven?" "I don't know," he said. "It feels like home, but not the house we knew. It's a space in between." Before I go on, make sure you're subscribed, because this part of my story is where mystery turns into hope. Shapes began to form inside the brightness. I saw shadows of trees, the outline of a sky I didn't recognize. The air shimmered, filled with gold dust. Every breath tasted like clean rain. Zion stepped forward. He looked just as he had the day before the accident, tall, smiling, a little shy about his own smile. But there was light inside his eyes, as if they held the reflection of stars. "Mom," he said gently, "you have to stop worrying about what's below." I'm not there anymore. Tears rolled down my face. I know, but I couldn't let go. "You don't have to let go," he said. "Just stop hurting." That's different. I wanted to hold him, to touch his cheek. But when I reached out, my hand passed through a glow that felt warm but weightless, like touching sunlight itself. "I thought you were cold," I said. "I was," he answered, "until you came close. When you believed I could still reach you, the light found me." I heard other voices then, soft, distant, comforting. They weren't words exactly, more like emotions turned into sound. They felt familiar, like the laughter of my grandmother, the hum of my father's old records, the prayers whispered by strangers at church. Zion smiled. "Those are people who still remember. Every thought of love becomes a spark here. It never dies." I could feel the truth of it vibrating through me. The air around us pulsed gently with a rhythm that matched my heartbeat. "Can I stay?" I asked quietly. "Not yet," he said. "You still have stories to live. You have to help people remember what love can do. What about you?" "I'm part of the light now. But we can talk when the world is quiet. You just have to listen differently." I wanted to believe that. "I don't know if I can," I said. "You can," he smiled. "You already did." A soft wind moved through the light, and suddenly I saw scenes from our life. His first steps, his laughter under the sprinkler, the time he built a birdhouse with his dad. Each memory shone for a second and drifted away like petals in water. "Do you see that?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "That's what connects us. Memories are bridges." The brightness began to fade around the edges, replaced by shadows of real trees and the shape of the old oak. "Mom, the gate is closing," he whispered. "When it does, the world will look normal again, but it won't be the same." What should I do? Live. Tell them what love sounds like when it refuses to end. The hum grew louder, turning into a tone that filled the air and trembled in my chest. I wanted to stay, to keep watching him in that calm light. But the ground beneath me shifted. The warmth turned to cool air again. When I opened my eyes, I was lying beside the oak. Darius and Kai were kneeling over me, their faces pale in the moonlight. The glow was gone. Only my phone remained, lying on the grass, its screen cracked but still warm. "Alar," Darius said. "You fainted. Are you hurt?" "I saw him," I whispered. Kai glanced at the phone. It lit up like a lantern. Then it went dark. "You were surrounded by blue light for about a minute." "We couldn't move." I sat up slowly. "He said he's not cold anymore." Kai rubbed his arm. Whatever that was, it wasn't electricity. I turned the phone over. The battery icon showed full charge. It hadn't been plugged in. On the screen was one new message. It read, "Thank you for finding me." Darius looked at it, speechless. "Maybe it was stored text," Kai said weakly, but his eyes betrayed disbelief. We sat under the oak until the sun rose. Birds began to sing as if the night had never held fear. Before I tell you what happened the next morning, make sure you're subscribed. Because what followed that sunrise changed how I think about life itself. When daylight spread through the cemetery, I noticed something strange. The grass around Zion's stone had grown thick and green overnight, brighter than the rest of the field. Dew sparkled like silver. Even Mr. Silas, when he came by, stopped and stared. "Never seen anything like that," he muttered. I felt peace settle inside me for the first time in 15 years. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of knowing love had not vanished. For weeks after that night, I kept the phone close. At exactly 3:27 a.m., the screen would glow faintly blue for a few seconds. No ring, no message, just light. I called it his way of saying goodnight. Sometimes, when I was half asleep, I'd hear his voice, not through the phone, but in my mind, telling me small things. Open the window, Mom, or check on Dad, or plant something new today. I started following those whispers. One morning he said, visit the hospital, so I went. In the waiting area, a woman was crying quietly over a son who'd been hurt in an accident. I sat beside her, held her hand, told her my story as gently as I could. She stopped crying for a moment and said, that's what I needed to hear. After that, word spread in our little town about the mother who received a call from beyond. People came to talk. Some were curious. Some were grieving. I listened to all of them. Each story lit a small blue glow in my heart, the same color as that light under the oak. Darius began visiting more often. We didn't talk about the night much, but he stayed for dinner, fixed the old porch light, even laughed again. One evening he said, maybe Zion wanted to bring us back together. I nodded. Maybe he just wanted to make sure we were both still living. Kai kept studying the phenomenon scientifically. He placed sensors near the grave and recorded faint energy pulses at random hours. None matched any known frequency. If science can't explain it, he said finally, maybe love can. The year turned quietly. Seasons shifted. Every anniversary of Zion's passing, the same soft blue glow appeared above his stone for a few seconds, like a heartbeat remembering. Then, one spring morning, I received a new message. It didn't come at 3:27 a.m. It came in daylight. The phone buzzed twice. The screen showed a single word. Listen, I went outside. The sky was clear, the oak tree alive with leaves. Birds sang, and for a moment I thought I heard his voice carried on the breeze. Mom, it's time. Time for what? I wondered. That night, I dreamed of the light again. Zion stood beside a wide river that shimmered like glass. On the far shore were figures waving gently. He smiled. This is where love flows when it's done learning, he said. Someday you'll cross too, but not yet. When I woke, the phone was glowing softly. Another message appeared. Help others cross without fear. I understood. My life was not ending. It was opening. So I began volunteering at grief centers, telling people what I had seen, not to frighten them, but to remind them that love doesn't stop. Some believed, some didn't, but every time I spoke, someone in the room would smile through tears, and I'd feel the same warmth from that blue light touching my hands again. Months passed. The messages slowed. Maybe Zion didn't need the phone anymore. Maybe he knew I finally understood. Then, one autumn evening, as leaves turned gold, I sat under the oak with Darius. The sky was fading into twilight. I whispered, do you think he's proud of us? Darius nodded. He always was. The phone buzzed one last time. We both looked. On the screen appeared a sentence glowing soft and steady. I'm always home when you remember me. The glow lingered, then dimmed slowly until the screen was black. I smiled through tears. Good night, my boy. That was the last message I ever received, but sometimes, on quiet nights, the wind through the trees sounds like his laughter. And sometimes, when I help another grieving parent, the light catches the same gentle blue. I used to think loss was an ending. Now I know it's a doorway. Love walks through it and keeps shining on the other side. After that night under the oak, I started noticing small changes around town. At first, they were easy to dismiss. Streetlights that flickered blue for just a second. Radios that hummed a note too pure to be static. People pausing in mid-conversation because they felt something warm pass through them. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe imagination, but it all felt connected. One morning, the local paper printed a small story. Teacher comforts family with message of hope. Someone from the hospital waiting room had told a reporter about me. Within days, strangers began to knock on my door. They came quietly, hats in hand, eyes full of questions. I didn't have answers, only my story. I told them about the call, the light, the messages, the peace that followed. And every time I spoke, the air in the room softened. It was like the light remembered where it had been and came back for a visit. Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're subscribed, because this part of the story is where a small town learns what love can do. The first to return was Mrs. Ramirez, the librarian. Her husband had passed 2 years earlier. She listened in silence, then took off her glasses and said, "If I see even one sign, I'll believe." The next evening, she phoned me whispering, "The porch bulb turned blue and stayed that way all night." She didn't sound afraid. She sounded grateful. Word spread faster than I expected. People began holding quiet gatherings in the community hall, not seances, not rituals, just evenings of shared memories. We lit candles, read names, and let silence speak for us. Sometimes the candles flickered in rhythm, as if answering. Darius joined in after a while. He brought his new camera and started recording the meetings. "I don't know if this is science," he said, "but it's something real." Kai helped too, collecting stories, writing down every detail of the blue light sightings. He called it Project Aurora because he said the phenomenon reminded him of the northern lights, small but powerful glows in dark places. Weeks became months. The gatherings grew. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in years hugged again. Old grudges melted like frost in morning sun. The local radio host invited me for an interview. My hands trembled the whole time, but I spoke simply, just as I do now. Love doesn't vanish. It changes address. After that broadcast, letters poured in from all over the state. People wrote about dreams where lost parents smiled, about pets they swore they felt jump on the bed, about a sense of calm replacing years of fear. Some enclosed small drawings of blue light. I kept every one of them in a box under Zion's guitar. One night, when the moon was thin and silver, the phone glowed again. It hadn't done that for months. No message appeared, just light, steady, and soft. I whispered, "Is that you, baby?" And a feeling filled the room. Not sound, not words, but the memory of laughter. Then the glow faded. It was enough. The next morning, I found a small bird perched on the windowsill, feathers shimmering pale blue in the sun. It stayed until I whispered, "Thank you," then flew toward the oak. After that, everyone in town started seeing those birds, always near moments of kindness. Mr. Silas swore one landed on a gravestone, right after he said a prayer for someone buried there, Kai's. Research turned into a community project. He placed sensors in 20 locations. Each time a person reported feeling comfort or sudden peace, the sensors caught faint energy spikes. No pattern, no known source, but always gentle. He laughed and said, "Maybe science is finally catching up to love." Before long, schools invited me to speak. Children listened wide-eyed as I told them how memories can light the dark. They drew pictures of phones glowing blue and titled them Hope Calls. Their laughter filled the halls like music. Darius and I found our way back to friendship. Sometimes he'd sit with me on the porch and say, "Remember how quiet the house used to feel? Now it's alive again." He wasn't wrong. Even the air felt lighter. One rainy evening, as I closed the curtains, a bright streak cut through the sky. Not lightning, but a single vertical beam, blue and silver. It lasted only seconds. The next day, reports came in from nearby towns. People had seen it too. Kai analyzed satellite data. Nothing registered. Whatever that was, he said, it left no trace except in people's hearts. I started keeping a journal again, something I hadn't done since Zion's teenage years. Every entry began with a simple line. The light visited today. Sometimes it was a stranger's smile, sometimes a song on the radio at the perfect moment, sometimes just a quiet sense that the world was paying attention. Then came the evening that changed everything. We were holding one of our gatherings in the community hall. About 50 people sat in a circle, candles glowing softly. I began to speak, telling the story of that first call once more, when suddenly every candle flame turned blue. Gasps filled the room. No wind, no draft, just blue fire flickering in unison. The air smelled faintly of rain. I felt warmth on my palms, the same warmth I'd felt beside the oak. A hum rose, low and melodic, like distant singing. No one panicked. Instead, people began whispering the names of those they loved. The hum deepened, pulsing with each name, until the room was filled with light bright enough to see everyone's tears. And then, just as quickly, it faded. Silence returned. When the lights came back to normal, the candles were still burning, untouched. Mrs. Ramirez wiped her eyes and said softly, "They heard us." That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window watching raindrops slide down the glass. At 3:27 a.m., the phone glowed again, but this time it wasn't blue. It was gold. A message appeared. "It's working." "Keep going." I woke Darius, showed him the screen. He smiled and said, "Then we'd better keep going." From that point, the gatherings became monthly events called Nights of Light. People came from other states. We lit candles, shared stories, played soft music, and promised to remember. No tickets, no speeches, just community. The local paper began calling me the Mother of the Light. It made me blush every time. One summer afternoon, a young man approached me after a meeting. He had the same calm eyes Zion once had. "Mrs. Vance," he said, "I used to think everything ended when my brother died. But I dreamed last night that he handed me a phone glowing blue and said, 'Tell Mom I'm okay.'" I woke up smiling. "Thank you," I hugged him. His shoulders trembled, but when he stepped back, he looked lighter. That was when I realized what the messages had meant. Zion hadn't asked me to build a monument. He'd asked me to build a bridge. The world outside noticed too. A small documentary team arrived. They filmed the town, the gatherings, the stories. When the film aired online, people wrote from all over the world: Australia, Norway, South Africa. Many said they saw small blue glows in their own homes while watching. Kai laughed in disbelief, but his eyes shone. "Whatever this is," he said, "it's spreading faster than radio waves." I started receiving invitations to speak in other cities. Each time, I told the same simple truth: love learns new languages when we listen. Before one of those trips, I visited the oak again. The grass around it shimmered, still greener than anywhere else. I touched the stone and whispered, "We did what you asked, baby." A soft breeze brushed my hair, warm even in winter. For a heartbeat, I thought I heard him whisper back, "You're doing great, Mom." Back home, I found another message on the phone. It said only, "Prepare for more light." I didn't know what that meant until a month later, during the biggest night of light we'd ever held. Nearly 1,000 people gathered in the park. The sky above us bloomed with blue auroras. Not faint this time, but dancing ribbons stretching from horizon to horizon. Everyone gasped. Some cried. Phones filmed the sky, but no camera captured the color quite right. It was too alive. When the glow faded, the crowd stayed silent for a long time. Then someone began to hum the tune we always played at the end of each meeting. One by one, voices joined until the park overflowed with song. I looked up and whispered, "You see, Zion? You taught them." After that night, something subtle changed in people. Neighbors smiled more. Arguments ended quicker. Even the mayor said crime dropped that month. No one could explain it. They just said the town felt lighter. Darius and I sat on the porch later, listening to the crickets. He said, 15 years ago we thought our story ended. Now it feels like it's just starting." I nodded. The blue light might fade, but the kindness it planted kept glowing. Because what came next is the part I still can't tell without my heart trembling. The anniversary arrived quietly, like a soft breath in the morning. 15 years since the accident. 1 full year since the light first returned. The whole town decided to gather under the oak this time, not in sadness, but in gratitude. They said it was our way of thanking the light for finding us. I woke early that day, long before sunrise. The house was still. The phone rested on the nightstand, dark and silent. For the first time in months, it hadn't glowed at 3:27. I felt both calm and nervous. Maybe that meant the work was done. Maybe it meant there was one more chapter left. Outside, dew covered the grass like tiny stars fallen from the sky. Darius was already on the porch, sipping coffee. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Not really," I said. "Feels like something's coming." He nodded. "Me too. Good or bad, it feels big." By afternoon, the park filled with people. Old friends, new faces, families, children playing near the oak. The air smelled of flowers and rain. Someone had hung strings of little blue lights through the branches. The town band tuned their instruments softly. Before I go on, make sure you're subscribed, because this part of the story is where the impossible becomes something we can almost touch. When the sun began to set, the mayor stepped forward to speak. He said words about unity, kindness, how the blue light had reminded us that life is wider than we see. Then he turned to me and said, "Mrs. Vance, would you say a few words?" My hands trembled as I took the microphone. Faces blurred before me. So many people, all holding candles that would soon be lit. I took a breath and spoke slowly. 15 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything. But love had other plans. It found me, even in the dark. Tonight we stand under this oak not to mourn, but to remember that every heartbeat is a light trying to find its way home. Silence followed. Then the crowd began to light their candles one by one, passing the flame from hand to hand until the park shimmered with thousands of tiny stars. For a moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. Then it happened. The air changed, not colder, not warmer, just charged with something alive. The candles flickered in rhythm, like breathing. The blue hue returned, soft at first, then brighter, blending with the orange candlelight until everything around us glowed violet gold. Gasps rose from the crowd. Children laughed. The band stopped playing, yet music filled the air anyway, a slow hum that matched every heartbeat. I looked up. The sky above the oak had opened into a curtain of light, swirling in gentle waves. People whispered prayers. Some cried. I felt a warmth rise in my chest, spreading outward until even my fingertips tingled. The phone in my pocket began to vibrate. I took it out. On the screen appeared a single message. "Look up, Mom." I did. Among the waves of color, I saw shapes forming. Not faces exactly, but outlines of familiar love. Parents, children, friends. For a second, I saw Zion standing there, tall, calm, smiling. His form shimmered like sunlight through water. "You did it," I whispered. His voice reached me like a breeze. "We did it." The crowd stood silent, sensing something sacred. Even those who didn't see what I saw felt it, a presence gentle and vast, wrapping everyone in peace. Darius grabbed my hand. "Do you see him?" he whispered. "Yes," I said through tears. "And he sees us." The lights began to pulse slower, like a heartbeat calming after joy. The hum faded, replaced by the sound of the wind moving through leaves. The candles still burned, untouched. Then the phone glowed again. A new message appeared. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. It's time." I pressed the screen. "Time for what, baby?" I whispered. The reply came in 3 words that changed everything. "For you to live." My knees went weak. Darius caught me. What did he say? I showed him. His eyes filled with tears. "Then that's what we'll do." After the glow faded, the crowd began to sing softly, the same tune that had become our song of remembrance. I joined them, voice shaking but strong. The air shimmered one last time, and then the night returned to ordinary starlight. For days afterward, people said the light had followed them home. Some saw small blue sparks on their walls. Others felt warmth on their shoulders like a gentle hand. Even skeptics smiled when they talked about it. "Whatever that was," one man said, "it made the world feel kinder." Kai later measured a strange energy spike over the whole region that night. "It wasn't weather," he told us. "It wasn't radiation. It was something new. Maybe it was all of us and our hearts syncing together." Darius called it collective grace. I liked that. Weeks passed. The oak became a quiet place of peace. People left notes there, messages of forgiveness, thanks, and hope. No one vandalized it, no one argued. It was as if the town itself remembered how to breathe. One afternoon, I went alone to the tree. The grass shimmered as always. I sat down, leaning against the trunk. The phone was in my lap, screen dark. I whispered, "Zion, it's been a while." The screen lit softly, no buzz this time. The message said, "I'm always close." I smiled. "I know." Then another line appeared, slower, as if typed one letter at a time. "You can let go now, Mom. The light is yours too." Tears came, but they were warm, gentle tears. Not of sorrow, but of release. I looked up through the branches, sunlight filtering down in golden waves. For the first time since that terrible night 15 years ago, I felt whole. When I walked home, Darius was painting the porch railings. He looked up and smiled. "You look lighter," he said. "I am," I replied. "I think I finally understand." "What's that?" "That love doesn't wait for heaven. It builds heaven wherever we remember it." He set down his brush, came over, and hugged me. It wasn't the awkward embrace of shared grief anymore. It was the simple comfort of 2 people finally at peace. Before I tell you how the story truly ends, make sure you're subscribed, because this last moment is where everything we learned comes full circle. That night, I dreamed again. But it wasn't like before. There was no dark, no waiting. Just a field of light stretching forever. Zion walked beside me, older now, serene. He said, "See, Mom? You taught them to listen. The world shines brighter when hearts stay open." I asked him, "Will I see you again like this?" He smiled. "Every time someone chooses kindness, you'll see me. Every time someone forgives, you'll hear me." When I woke, sunlight filled the room. The phone lay on the nightstand, silent and still. I knew there would be no more messages, and that was okay. The connection had shifted from technology to spirit. Months later, I published a small book about our journey. I titled it The Light Between Worlds. It wasn't about ghosts or miracles. It was about what happens when love refuses to fade. The book spread quietly, word by word, heart by heart. People sent letters saying it helped them find peace after loss. Some said they'd seen the blue light while reading. Darius designed the cover, a simple oak tree under a night sky. Kai wrote the introduction, explaining that science and mystery might be two sides of the same truth. The town library placed the first copy on a special shelf near the entrance. Life continued, gentle and steady. Seasons changed. New children grew up hearing the story of the mother who got a call from the light. The phone itself stopped working eventually, but I kept it in a glass box beside Zion's picture. Every year on the anniversary, we still gather under the oak. We light candles, sing softly, and remember. The lights don't always appear anymore, but that's all right, because now they glow inside us. Sometimes I sit on the porch at dusk, watching fireflies blink in the yard. Their tiny lights remind me that even the smallest spark can guide someone home. If you're listening to this and you've lost someone, hear me clearly. Love is still with you. It changes shape, it changes name, but it never leaves. Every act of kindness, every memory spoken aloud, every gentle thought, that's the light calling back. So tonight, when the world grows quiet, turn off the noise for a moment. Close your eyes. Listen. You might hear it too, the faint hum of love that refuses to die. And if you do, smile and whisper, I remember. Because remembering keeps the light alive. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I'm not afraid anymore. The fear left with the darkness. Now there is only light, in the sky, in the trees, in the faces of everyone who dares to hope again. Thank you for walking through this story with me. Thank you for believing that something beautiful can still rise from loss. Until we meet again, keep your heart open and your light shining. Because somewhere, someone you love is smiling through that same glow, whispering the same words my son once told me. It's never goodbye forever. Only see you soon. If this story touched your heart, take a deep breath and remember, love never leaves us. It just changes shape. Sometimes it's a memory, sometimes it's a sign. Sometimes it's a light that still finds its way back home. So tonight, before you go, hold on to that light. And if you believe that love can reach across any distance, even the space between worlds, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story too. If you felt something tonight, give this video a like. It helps this story reach more hearts that need a little hope right now. And if you want to walk with me through more stories like this, stories about faith, mystery, and love that never ends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll be here when the next light finds its way home.